two F40s crashed this week. How can you have two of the most iconic cars crash?
They forced people to buy the watch if you wanted a GT RS and said, okay, we'll give you the allocation, but you have to go for the watch, which was roughly £40,000.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, right? Our favourite chef, Gordon Ramsay, has just bought his new £2.5 million Aston Martin Valliant.
It looks like an American muscle car on steroids.
What are the most expensive options that you can get on a Bugatti?
Three main things people will buy a hypercar for.
I think I wanted to bring this car up because it's a car that probably no one in this country or in this side of the world knows what it is, but it is the holy grail of cars in Australia.
Do you think that the Mercedes AMG GT will drop any lower, or have they hit rock bottom? Hello and welcome to episode 44 of the GVE London Podcast. And today I'm joined by George and Andreas. Let's get into it. Okay, so here's a lady that has 11 kids, right? And she lives in Texas, lives on a farm, and has a Bugatti Chiron. Isn't that so cool? And she's got this Chiron, and she's driving it, and then suddenly spills her Starbucks. Oh, no, actually spills her Red Bull. And then it goes down the side of a seat, right? And then says on Instagram, look at my first world problem. You know, how the hell can my Chiron, 3 million quid, not have a cup holder? And then the lead designer from Bugatti responds, right?
No way.
Hi Shannon, so you demanded a cup holder for your Chiron, right? So this is the official Bugatti answer. The development team have been exceptionally busy to come up with a solution, and I think we have succeeded. So I took the liberty to bring up your configuration here. By the way, kudos on the pink detail, it looks really cool. And let's have a look at the interior. So the ideal spot, I think, that would lend itself for putting a cup holder in there would actually be the very door pocket that you spilled your drink into, no? So let's get that cleaned up. And this is a toolless design. It basically clips into there like so. And you can see it has two slots for two different sizes of beverages. The larger one could be a water bottle, and the smaller one could be one of them sticky Austrian energy drinks. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but it would fit into here too. So you see the design is individualized in the same color of your car and with your name on it. And so just in time for Christmas, the design is ready. If you approve this design, we could mock up a rapid prototyping 3D printed part and ship it over to you for a first test fitment in January on your car.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think a Chiron should really come with a cup holder. You know, it isn't a supercar, hypercar designed for daily use, you know, so I wouldn't really think a cup holder would be on their list of items to put on. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't really say a Chiron is purely a weekend hypercar.
Is Chiron technically not a GT car though? Long distance driving,
not really.
Not really for track use.
Not really though. I don't really think a Chiron, because GT is front engine, big boot, luggage space. Even a Chiron has a front boot, but doesn't have that much space. So I wouldn't really consider a GT car.
The funny thing is, now that they've designed it, then the question is, why didn't you just design it before and have it as an optional spec?
Yeah.
It's stupid. They should have offered that at the beginning when you're speccing your Chiron. Every supercar owner pretty much has that option if you want to have cup holders in there.
I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have my cup holder in my car. I have a tea in my car every single day driving to work in the morning, no?
Surely you'd be worried about spilling your cup of tea in your £3 million hypercar. It would damage the leathers. Even with ceramic coating.
That's part of the joy, man. You're driving and you're taking in the scenery. You've got a cuppa in your hand. You drive. No? Is it just me? I don't drive very fast, though. That's the thing. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think the whole thrill of it is just two hands on a steering wheel. Maybe a cigar.
Yeah?
But just...
A cigar and a tea.
And someone else is staring.
Okay. Well, look, this actually poses the question: what are the most expensive options that you can get on a Bugatti, right?
Oh, those would be extortionate.
So what do you think they are?
Some sort of like a sky roof, pan roof.
All right, well, that was good because actually you're right. Sky view roof panel. Chiron owners can opt for a dual fixed glass roof panel that provides a panoramic view of the sky, and that's all for a tidy sum of £60,000.
60,000, bargain.
Yeah? That's all right.
bad.
What do you think?
I thought the most expensive option would have been some sort of custom piece if someone wants to completely customize the interior with leathers and maybe different colored dash, different colored carpets.
That could go. That
Different
could.
paint
I mean,
work.
when you think about it, Mansory charge into the hundreds for their customization.
Yeah.
Right? So
Easily.
surely then Bugatti should be.
And then you've got special paintworks. You've got McLaren who are doing XB special paintworks that can go up above £50,000-60,000. On the W1, when you're specing those, you have paintworks that go 80 to £100,000. So I'm surprised by that 60,000 is one of the most
Here, look
expensive
at this.
options.
Diamond cut wheels. The Chiron Persport offers an optional extra ultra lightweight magnesium alloy wheels with a diamond cut finish, which reduces weights. Only for £70,000 for the set.
I mean, that, to be honest, seems good value when it comes to Bugatti. When you think about it, when you go all the way back to the Veyron, every 4 years you're being asked to change the wheels, which comes up with the tyres, comes up to about 50,000. But just in case there was a crack that they weren't aware of on the inside. The whole purpose was this car's built to do over 200 miles an hour. If for any reason someone crashes at such a high speed or has any issues,
They don't want it to be.
they
on
don't
them.
have the reputation saying that, sorry, we had damage in the car and someone's crashed it. So if they've backed themselves saying, we've told you it's a maintenance plan, every 2 years change a wheel. That wouldn't have happened if we'd done that.
So it's just to cover their own backs, right? It's funny with the Bugattis. I think you have to think outside the box a little bit when you're trying to, come up with solutions for any problems that you might find with them, or these guys have just designed a cup holder. But I think we've had a couple of scenarios in the past, right?
For sure, yeah. I mean, one that springs to mind is Veyron. Now, they had a pixelated screen. So on the inside where I think it's a climate control, it has a very small pixelated screen there. And it was just all pixelated. It wasn't showing numbers, it wasn't showing anything. So Bugatti was saying you have to replace the whole panel, which would have cost well over £50,000 or £60,000. And what the guys in servicing did was they called a mobile phone repair specialist who came in, had a look at this pixelated screen, managed to take it out, repaired the screen, put it back inside the panel, put it back in, and it was working perfectly fine.
That's crazy.
Just because, and the cost of it would have been well under £100 to repair that screen.
Wow.
So
Bugatti would have charged 15 grand.
Well, 50 or 60 to replace the whole panel. And that's what people need to realize, is that these big brands, or even Ferrari and Lambo, they won't repair anything. They will just replace it.
Yeah.
And it's such a waste of money.
I mean, it's a waste of money, but it's also a way that they make their money, right? Yeah. So it's a brilliant model that they've got going on.
Yeah.
But they're the winners and the consumer is the loser, right?
Yeah. And then overall, what a waste of parts as well. I wonder what they do with those.
Old parts, yeah.
Well, surely they must recycle them, or do they fix them and sell them on?
I doubt it. It's probably straight into the bin.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Tell me about it.
But wouldn't you think, like on a tourbillon now, because it's the whole watch, mentality, they would put some sort of like really expensive clock inside the car from like Richard Mille or something, that would cost $500,000 or something, to make it even more, just because we can.
I don't know. Do you think that the hypercar owners just becoming a little bit more savvy now? That if you try and take the mick, like I guess possibly in the past, charging somebody $500,000 for a watch to go in might have been, absolutely fine. I suppose your crypto bros or something like that would be like, okay, wow, all right, I'll do it. But now suddenly in today's world, we're I don't know. Do you think people are a little bit more sensible with their spending?
I think sensible with spending is one thing, but there's also a lot more competition now. Whereas if you go back 10 or 20 years ago, the option for hypercars were limited. There wasn't really much choice, so people could have taken the mick and they said, oh, we've got one of the only ones that will challenge to go up to this price, go up to this speed and this price as a hypercar. There's only 3 cars you can class as a hypercar if you go 20 years ago. Whereas now, you look at how many hypercars there are. currently
Crazy.
being built. You've got from
Yeah.
Koenigsegg, different range, Pagani, different range, Ferrari's different range, even almost to an
Even
extent.
Lotus.
Mercedes.
Lotus
There
has
you go,
got
yeah.
hypercars.
Mercedes.
And you've got the Mercedes, you've got Red Bull now have made one. You've got
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, right?
so many different
a few
manufacturers.
options.
that
It was
come
only
out
10
nowhere.
years ago, there was the Holy Trinity, and now there's like
Yeah.
So many to choose from.
definitely a lot more than the Trinity
There's a lot
now.
more now.
Whereas
Yeah.
now, because of all that competition, they are having to be savvy and they're having to say, well, no, let's try and cut costs there and say that you can get these cheaper options, because essentially people buy a hypercar for performance and looks and status, right? Those are the three main things people will buy a hypercar for. Why would you now go and spend £200,000 or £300,000 on an option just because you have to, when there's so much choice? You can go for
Yeah.
another car with
Mate,
It wasn't like when the GT2s came out and they had the optional watch that you can come
They
with.
forced them to buy the watch.
Yeah, but then remember we had some. I think we got offered one last year and it didn't have the watch, and then it wasn't as valuable. I think. I remember you had one.
So
I
no,
think
it
there
was the watch. This is the story actually. So the Porsche forced people to buy the watch if you wanted the GT2 RS, and said, okay, we'll give you the allocation, but you have to go for the watch, which was roughly £40,000. So no, the resale value, they've dropped
yeah,
massively.
£5,000.
Yeah, they've ridiculously dropped now.
Yeah.
So they were, I don't know, 14, between 20 to 40, something like that. There was a big significant number.
Yeah.
But that guy then said he bought it and he tried to sell it. And he's like, well, I don't really want to wear it. It's not the prettiest watch.
Yeah.
And just could not get any worth for it. So it'd be interesting to see actually what that sold for on collecting cars.
Yeah, that's not good, eh? That's not good. I'd understand if it was a Rich Meal or,
Yeah.
you know, like a...
So what makes sense, and we've got buyers now for like the McLaren W1, and he's saying, I want the W1, but I have to get the Richard Mille with it. I have to get it with it.
That's so
and then
cool.
the Senna, like I'm buying the Senna, but I have to get the Richard Mille watch with it. So that's got the provenance of a watch design.
Yeah.
Whereas Porsche building a watch is like,
No.
do I really want that?
No, 100%. I mean, the actual... The engineering and the man hours and the expertise that goes into making a Richard Mille compared to Porsche design, surely that's the reason why you wouldn't want to get that, because you know that after a few years it's not going to be worth anything. But that was probably just another example of a manufacturer trying to make a little bit of extra margin.
Bit of extra
Yeah.
money, yeah.
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 No, there's another interesting fact as well with those is people never really knew how many GT2 RSs were built, but they only made 1,000 of the watches. So in the back of their head, everyone said that there's only 1,000 GT2 RSs built because that's how many watches are made. So it was almost like Porsche built the watches and said there's 1,000 watches built, but we're not telling you how many of the cars are built.
On to other news. 2 F40s crashed this week.
Oh my god.
In the space of a week.
Yeah.
How can you have two of the most iconic cars crash?
So the funny thing with one of them that happened in the UK, I received a message on the day it happened from someone who's within this supercar owners group, and they go out and drives, and he messaged and said, you guys don't want to buy like a cheap F40? And I was like, yeah, 100% a cheap F40. And he said, yeah, but it's just been in an accident. It's like, okay, what the hell has happened? He's turned around and said the car's been getting serviced by another company we won't name, and it turns out while they were test driving it or doing a couple of tests, they spun out and hit a lamppost. However, the person behind them was recording this,
Oh, God.
and then suddenly that's blown up, gone viral. That video has now been posted into this WhatsApp group,
Yeah.
and the guy who owns the F40 is
No.
within that WhatsApp group.
And he wasn't told about it.
He did not find out, and he saw that video, and he was like, "That's my car."
Oh.
So
Oh god.
it could have been that it was done very quickly. It could have been that the
Yeah,
company
yeah.
just didn't have the time to tell him. But yeah,
Yeah.
all of that happened very quickly, and he found out through this little WhatsApp group that he was in that his pride and joy probably, which actually, funny
you go.
enough,
Oh, God.
that was one of the highest mile F40s in the UK. That was one of the most used F40s in the UK that he crashed.
Maybe.
Insurance job?
I'm just thinking.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, he wasn't even driving it
impossible to
though.
replace.
Yeah, but I haven't driven an F40, but I have heard that they're quite lively with them when the turbos kick in, you know, so that looks like, it was like, I was watching a video before of someone that's driven one, and they've said like, you know, that sounds like he's put in a second gear. Obviously it's winter, the roads are quite icy, so he's
dropped down again.
So just by the engine noise.
Or
well, I think he's probably just maybe been in second and he's put his foot down, and then the turbos have just spooled,
and the back end's gone.
and it's quite common that I've heard before in these F40s how they do step out. So and you look at the Lando Norris car, the same kind of thing happened as well, and it just spun the whole back out, because obviously that's a go-kart. There's no assistance systems, there's no ABS, there's no ESP, there's nothing to help you. It's just you and the driver.
It's a proper driver's car.
Driver's car.
The funny thing is, you see all these race drivers come into the comments and be like, he didn't drive into it, you could have saved it, you didn't know what he was doing.
Really?
But a lot of people say when you drive an F40, that is the truest form to a racing car you can get on the road with an F40. Like, if you have to be a really skilled driver to drive that car hard. So that's why people do love it as well.
What did the Lando Norris crash look like?
Yeah.
Oh, that car looks salvageable. The other one definitely looks like it's a
write-off.
A write-off for sure, right? There's just no way the other one's coming back.
It'd be interesting to hear what Lando said about that. Who's driving it?
Yeah, I think one of his mates.
One of his mates.
So
I would not even ask to borrow that, right? Would you?
I'd be too scared. I'd be way too scared.
Unless he's imposed it on the guy. Like, no, I insist, take it. And then the guy's like, all right, fine, I'll take it.
I mean, Lando's got so many cars, so they just sit there.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, go take the F40 out, you know, and it's probably the first and last time he's probably going to do that.
I mean, to be fair, if you're not so confident in your driving skills, then there's no point. You shouldn't. There is no point. How are you going to enjoy it?
Okay, celebrity car of the week. So our favorite chef in the world,
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay has just bought his new £2.5 million Aston Martin Valliant, and he's been spotted in London outside his famous restaurant Lucky Cat.
Do you like the look of it?
I love it.
Do you think?
It's very retro, right?
Yeah, it looks like an American muscle car on steroids. I love it.
I don't think it's a pretty Aston at all.
It's not designed to be a pretty Aston. It's designed to be, it just looks robust and it looks menacing. It looks like it's going to run you over and reverse and run you over again. I love that.
It's just dangerous.
I like the way that the doors actually come up at an angle.
It's Swan-style doors.
Yeah.
Aston been doing that for a while.
I think the Valhalla's a way better looking car.
Completely different car though.
Yeah.
The Valhalla looks like it's an amazing track car. This looks like it'd be terrible on the track, but...
Well, it's track focused. It had Fernando Alonso's input into this.
Way.
Yeah. So
is it a straight line
it's
track?
a more extreme version of the Valhalla, right? And it was basically Fernando Alonso saying to Aston, I want you to make a track version of this Valhalla. And that's what they came up with.
Wow.
My only concern is the name, Valiant.
Why?
Because
It's
if
quite
you look
cool.
up have a look at Chrysler Valiant. Look up a Chrysler Valiant, James, and see what that is. Because every time I hear Valiant, it reminds me of that. It's a 1970s American saloon car.
Okay.
And that's kind of this is the car that my mum used to learn how to drive in Australia back in the 70s, and had a V8 engine in it. And I just go, God, I don't really think Valiant was the right name. I don't know. I just sort of thought they could have done a bit better with the
Valiant
name.
not mean like it's robust and it's ready to take
the name's
anything
already
on.
been used though, so
Valiant just reminds me of like medieval times or something like that. Some sort of I don't know.
There is one cool thing about this whole scenario is, have you ever seen someone blow up the internet with a car that quick? I mean, he was driving through London a couple of times, parked it outside his restaurant, and I must have been scrolling through Instagram or TikTok and saw probably about 20 or 30 different photographers in the space of 3 scrolls taking pictures of his car. Just going in and out. It was crazy. So I sent him a message and I was like, what an amazing car. It looks great. And he's like, his feedback was one of the best Astons I've driven.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
it's a V12, 5.2 litre engine producing 735 brake
It's a
horse.
muscle car.
Yeah. And it's a 6-speed manual. So imagine that.
it should have been over 800 horsepower.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Look at Ferrari; they're doing well over 800 now in their V12s. Aston just all have always
Is it naturally aspirated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be all about the noise. It's just pure American muscle.
Yeah.
It's just pure American muscle.
You reckon 2.5 million's a safe
No, hell no.
bet for that car?
No way.
No?
I'll get a Project One over that.
It's
And will you reckon it's going to go down in value or up?
guaranteed it's going to lose money.
Yeah.
It'll be a hard seller. There's not many people in the world who would want to buy one.
Yeah.
I reckon Gordon must get some sort of discount from them.
You think
Because,
so?
yeah, imagine how good it is for their brand. To have him, the best chef in the world, right?
And one of the biggest
Arguably.
car collectors in the world.
Yeah, and he's no longer a chef. It's like this persona in the whole world, recognized wherever he goes. Now suddenly he's driving your flagship model. They're just going to be, it must do wonders for their marketing, right?
See, I think he's always loved Aston.
Yeah. When you know it's going to blow up like this.
Yeah.
When you know that everybody's going to be talking about it. That's kind of like,
I don't think he'll get a
that's
discount.
worth £1 million worth of marketing.
I don't think he'll get a discount though.
I reckon they'll get given the bloody car for free, man.
No, I don't think he'll that. No, they'll probably give him free ceramic coating and that's about it.
Yeah, oh, mate, I don't think so. No, maybe not free, but I definitely reckon he would have got.
We've got a Jamie Oliver fan over there.
Yeah,
We should ask him the question.
yeah, that'd be interesting, but he'll never be able to say, right? So Andreas's find of the week.
Yes. Now,
With my
I've done
cars,
something a little bit different today because I kind of wanted to just expand. We always talk about sort of obviously supercars, hypercars, but I think I wanted to bring this car up because it's a car that probably no one in this country or in this side of the world knows what it is, but it is the holy grail of cars in Australia. Okay, so it's called a Ford Falcon XY GT Hit Phase 3. Now, it was built in 1971, and this is where it gets interesting. In 1971, you could have bought this car for $5,000. 1 second, George, I know your face. Okay, this car sold last year for $1.3 million.
No way.
So that's
Why?
a 26,500% increase of value.
why?
That is crazy.
Okay, so this is the holy grail. So
It's going to be some crazy Australian crackhead who just really likes
no,
it.
honestly, that's it. This is the holy grail. Anyone in Australia that knows about cars knows what an XY GT HO is. It's because it's a legendary car. It won the legendary Bathurst 1000 race in the 70s. It was a saloon car that was beating much smaller, like Holden Tiranas, around the track. And everyone just goes, this is incredible. And actually, when they built this car, this is how funny the Australian government was. They said to Ford, they said, these cars are too powerful. And if you're going to build cars this powerful anymore, well, you're not going to sell any more cars to the Australian government. And guess how much power it's had? 350 horsepower.
Oh, wow.
That's it. It was the fastest four-door saloon in the world when it came out. And it just got such a cult following in Australia. And these cars, they only made 500 of them. And they've just skyrocketed in price.
That's just crazy, man. Because that sounds like it's the hype is just in Australia.
Yes,
But
exactly.
the price being driven up to that kind of
Yep.
crazy value is just because of Australians.
Absolutely.
Whereas, like when you see a 250 GTO, that's worldwide
Worldwide.
demand.
Yeah, exactly. With this car, is just a unique to Australia, a heritage, and people only in Australia would know what this car is and the value of it.
Well, I suppose the taxes in Australia are so much that for somebody to try and bring in a Ferrari down there, they probably have to pay like 100% tax.
Well,
So
that's
it's better just buying.
That's the
buying
same
something that's
price
in
as an
there.
SVJ in Australia.
Ah, I see.
Same price.
Okay, that
You
makes
know?
sense.
What makes it even worse is my dad had one in the 70s.
No,
Yes.
that's the one that got away.
Yes,
Oh man,
he had one in the 70s. Electric blue.
that's crazy.
Yep, and he sold it.
On this section of the podcast, we are taking questions from our followers. And so we've got Kamal who's asking us, do you think that the Mercedes AMG GT will drop any lower or have they hit rock bottom?
I think there's still a way for it to fall. There's still some room to fall.
So the cheapest on the market is just £39,900, right?
It's got 100,000 miles.
But that's
on it.
100,000
Yeah.
miles. So
Yeah.
push that to the side. 50,000 buys you a pretty decent example, like 25,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And top of the market sits with the GT Black Series. But I mean, that is in its own league.
Separate.
So let's not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
consider that. But
They built so many of them. And I remember when they came out, they did the AMG GT and the AMG GT Edition 1, AMG GTS, the AMG GTC, the AMG GTC 50th edition. They did so many of these.
Then the GTRs came out.
The Rs, I just think I haven't even gone into the race spec cars. This is just pure the AMG GTs. There's so many of them that I think inevitably it's going to follow where like the SLs ended up. And you look at the old SLs, and even you look only focused on the 5 litres or the 6 litres.
I mean, were you saying the old generation SLs, SL55?
Yeah, they'll drop and they'll go really low.
And they went very low, but
and then they went back up again.
They've gone back up, right?
Of the engines. So these are still 4 litre bi-turbos, these AMG GTs, which isn't the holy grail. But the 55s were 6.2 litre V12
they're
bi-turbos.
amazing
Those were
cars,
like
man.
hard engines to get hold of.
Yeah.
So if it were me, trying to do a calculated guess, I still think we are going to see some AMG GTs probably hit between 20 and 30 grand eventually. Because they're still developing the 4 litre bi-turbo engine. It's not as though it's a very, very special car to hold on to.
What's your views?
I think I'm similar to George. I think they made too many models of them. That's what made them drop. I think if they just made an AMG GTS and then they had like a GTR and the GTR Black Series, just have 3 separate models, very distinguishable between the 3 of them, and then you can then say, yep, that's the top of the range. That's just sort of sporty one in the middle, and then there's your kind of everyday supercar, sports car at the bottom. So, but there's just so many bring them out, and it's just lost the value on them. So
based on what we're seeing with the cars that we have in stock and that we've sold, we think that over the next year they'll probably fall down to around the 35 mark.
No, so this is actually a good point you've made. That when I was saying I think they'll fall in value, I don't think that they're really unstable and someone's going to buy them and lose 20 grand. That's impossible. But I do think over the next 10 years they'll fall that sort of value. I don't think they're stable, that they're going to hold their value for the next 10 years, but I think very, very slowly they'll creep down in value by maybe 2,000 to 3,000 a year.
Got to hit a bottom at some point though, right?
20, I'm calling it at 20.
20?
Yeah, I'm calling it at 20.
I think the ones to buy though are like we're a GTR Roadster at the moment.
Yeah.
Only made 750 of them in the world. I think the limited edition ones, the numbered ones, they're ones to go for.
Yeah.
Because
they'll hold their value.
They hold their value better. So
fine. Harry asked, will people wake up to the McLaren 675 LT and will its value rise?
Absolutely. People need to wake up to that car. That's still one of the greatest
One
McLarens,
of the best McLarens ever
made.
When you look at performance and the 720 is on par with it,
it's not so much just about the performance and the speed. It's about driving that car on the track. If you look at all the reviews of anyone who's driven all these cars to the limit, the 675 is the only car where you feel truly connected to the road out of all the McLarens. The 720s, you get in them and it's great. Anyone can have fun in the car. This is a great car, but you don't truly feel connected to it like a race car driver. The 675, any review that I've read, and I've driven 675s.
But I guess the like for like would be that versus a 765 as opposed to the 720, right?
The 765 is once again an even quicker car, an even better handling car, but doesn't quite have that raw feeling that the 675s had. So we've got a client who owned the 675 and owned the 720 and owned pretty much every McLaren
single one,
had the 765 last, had 2 of them actually, and then came back and he said, I missed the 675.
No.
The way the 675 drove is unlike any other McLaren. It's not the fastest. The 765 is probably better handling, but to get that thrill, which is essentially what you want. You don't really buy a car to be doing max speed. You buy it because you want to feel the thrill. You want to get
corners. You have a lot more fun cornering a car than you do just putting your foot down in a straight line.
You want the hair in the back of your neck to stand up when you're driving, and you don't really get that doing 200 miles an hour. You get that just through the thrill of driving. The 675 delivers that.
And the driving position on them is just bang on. Perfection, just where the steering wheel, how you sit, the pedals, they just got they put the
in comparison to the 765.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't driven a 765 in depth to really compare, but the 675 I have, and I just think that just is amazing. And the Super Trofeo tires, the semi slicks, when they warm up, it's just such a great handling car.
So there's only 12 on the market at the moment. That's not a lot when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
And 8 convertibles, 4 coupes. So bloody hell, 4 coupes.
They only made 500 of them.
I know, but bloody hell, only 4 available on the open market at the moment.
One thing I have to say about
that means that people are tucking them away.
Yep.
They are tucking them away, but one thing I have to say is because we follow this market quite a bit. And It's a good question because he said, when are people going to wake up to it? They're just not selling. You see them sat online for ages. People, there's just not, I don't know why buyers for these LTs aren't coming up. 675s I've seen on the market for over a year. I've seen dealers have a 675 LT Spider marketed for 2 years.
So you think that there's not many on the market because they're not selling, as opposed to people tucking them away and putting them in collections and saying, do you know what, no, this is one for the future. You're saying that they're not putting them on because...
So what happened, the timeline with the 675s is, you would know this as well, you buy them, they went for overs, and they crashed. And when they crashed incredibly hard. They lost 50% of their value overnight, and it was just insane. At that point, the market was flooded. Everyone's like, I need to get out of this car now.
Get out of this car, yeah.
Then COVID happened because cars, they all started selling all of a sudden. I remember LTs, we sold an LT for £180,000 a coupe, and we were selling Spiders for early 200s, and the people were picking them up all day long. We were able to get them flying out of the showroom. And then the owners caught drift onto that, and they thought, hold on a second, maybe we're selling them too cheap. Let's start demanding a higher premium. And then sort of the market came into unity, and then everyone stuck these prices on these cars saying, I think it's too low selling for the low hundreds. Let's keep it at this price. And then they weren't selling. They've just been sat on the market for ages. So I think the people who are tucking them away could either be thinking that I don't want to hold on to it forever. I'm going to wait for the right time to sell it because these do have the ability of jumping back up, and they will do at some point. But there's no real panic sellers left with an LT right now. There's no one who's bought an LT from list. Well, there might be, but they're not bothered about it. But not many people who had bought an LT at list thinking I need to flip it and get out.
Yeah,
I
think you're right. I think it's the ownership's shifted from the people that wanted to make a quick buck to the enthusiasts that actually like driving them.
Yeah,
that have disposable income that are now sitting on them thinking, I wouldn't mind like getting into a newer model or something like that, but I don't think it's the right time to sell. So I'm not in a big rush. I'm not going to panic sell, right?
Yeah.
The question is, will it go up?
Yeah.
It'll go up from here.
Yeah, 100%. It's the first LT they made since the F1 long tail. And the 675 is still till now seen as one of the best chassis and engines that were built. It was derived from the 12C, which was one of the first road-going cars McLaren built after the F1. Same gearbox, same engine, same chassis from the 12C, which they then developed further into the 650 and then finally built their masterpiece with the 675. It's bound to go up. It's a no-brainer, eventually.
So it's a good buy. I think if anybody's in the market for...
They can get a deal on one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Bobby says, what motivates you?
What motivates me? Just, always the cars I'm around, being able to find the next good buy to bring in to stock and to get it sold, really, Buy cheap, sell high. That's our kind of motto here, isn't it?
Yeah. And what about you?
There's quite a few things. I think it's really hard to answer that. I want to say profit. Can't say that, can I?
Oh, but profit's not a dirty word, eh? Profit.
Well, someone asked me this question before on a podcast, and I said profit, and Aaron still takes a piss out of me today, and he's like, the way he said it just seemed profit.
Yeah.
All right. No, I know what to say.
Okay. What about you?
It's quite a hard question to answer in a concise answer, but there's various things. Obviously, profit. It's not a dirty word. Okay, all right, I had it.
Oh God.
Yeah, so profit.
It's not a dirty word.
It's not a dirty word.
No.
Yeah. No, I can't. My stickery. I was ready then. You were making.
It's not a dirty word. No, it's not a dirty word.
So profit is clearly quite an important thing in this business. That's a massive motivator in anyone who's doing deals. And then another thing is when you go out and you see these cars on the road and you see the plate or you see the owner in the car and you're like, I know the history of that. I've sourced that car 2 or 3 times and have supplied it to so-and-so owner. This celebrity's owned it. That person's customized it and wrapped it in that color at one point. Knowing a car's history on the road, especially when you have that passion for cars, is quite an incredible feeling when you see it in action, someone driving it, or you see a video of it on socials. And then lastly, this has to be one of the biggest motivators, is when you're on that turntable and you're handing it over to a client and you see sometimes tears of excitement, or you see people telling their incredible journey, like, I've worked my whole life to come here and buy this car. And it's like, I mean, even now as I'm talking about it, I'm getting goosebumps thinking that what a pleasure it is to be part of that journey. And
how many people
deliver.
we've done that.
Exactly.
When somebody comes here, you've got, I'd say 50% of the customers are people that have just absolutely been doing this day in, day out for the last God knows how many years, smashed it.
Of course, you get customers like that.
You know, sitting on tons of money, right? And they have been for many years. But then you've got so many people that have, like all of us, right? When we were younger, we always had a vision that when we make some money, we're going to get a car. And that car is going to be mine was a Lambo Mercy back in the day. And I'm sure what was yours?
Enzo, funny enough.
Enzo.
Ferrari Enzo is my poster.
Mine was a Carrera GT.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that was always the vision, right? And then imagine these guys who also had the same vision come here, and then you're dealing them a car.
The
it's
funny
amazing,
thing is,
right?
like, it's not always the people who are buying their first supercar as well. We've seen it. Like, I've seen it with people who have come in and bought their 20th supercar, and they're still that excited about it because they just love cars so much. They're like, I've worked my ass off. I've worked my life away to try and do this. And yes, this is my 20th or 30th car, and it's getting bigger and bigger every time. But it's like, this is the thrill. I like this. I've never driven this car before. I've never owned it. I can't wait to have the experience of ownership of this car. And it's just that genuine enthusiasm that you get to see from clients, and their gratitude towards you helping them source that car, how special it may be for them for their journey and their future. They may even talk about passing on to their kids. Like, that's pretty special to be a part of that.
I think my one is like a vision for the business. How can we make it the biggest dealership / platform for supercars in the country, and then it'll become Europe, and then it'll become the world, that helps people buy and sell their cars? And I think it all leads into what you're saying, because ultimately the only way we can become the biggest is by people being happy with the service. What's everybody's first job? P.S. I love your videos. H MMA said. What was your first job?
I was I don't know what to say.
What, bungalow?
Yeah.
You can say that. What the hell, man? Come on, man. What the hell? I'd say bungalow. It's a Bangra. Okay, no. Okay. So what was your first job? So go on, tell me, what was your first job?
It was a radio presenter.
Oh, yeah?
Funny enough, yeah.
What kind of music? Bangra? Fuck's sake, come on, you don't want to say it.
Oh, I'll say it.
So what was your first job?
What is Bangla?
Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding.
GVE Friday nights.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what was your first job?
It was a radio presenter, funny enough. It was
DJ Gagsy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
DJ Gagsy was my side hobby. I used to DJ, and then my actual official first job where I used to get paid for it was being a radio presenter.
Okay.
And
what kind of music was that?
It was actually Indian / English inspired music, so it was Bhangra.
Okay.
And
like the Jay-Z song with Punjabi MC.
Yeah.
There you go, for all of our viewers that don't know. How about you?
Mine was a barista.
Barista?
I used to make coffees.
In Melbourne?
Good coffees.
In Melbourne?
In Melbourne.
Wow,
nice.
you kept that quiet way too long.
Man.
I want a barista style coffee.
Yeah.
I would make you, if you give me a proper coffee machine, I'll make you a very good coffee.
Really?
4 over there.
No, not like push a button one. Get me a proper
With a
grinder and a steamer.
I'm looking at it right now. It's been there for years.
Yeah, but not that one. A big one. A big proper high tech one. I can make a very good coffee.
So my first job was a delivery kind of assistant, and so I'd spend the whole of the summer when I turned 16 applying for jobs everywhere around Hounslow, right? And I just got rejected from everywhere. And then my best mate ends up getting a job in a bakery, and I didn't have a job. So now suddenly I don't have anybody to hang around with, and I don't have a job. And then I finally found one job where they said, okay, you have to take fridges out of the back of a lorry. So after I took 3 fridges out, I thought I'd done my back in, and then I was like, I'm not doing this job again. So I was like, see you later, I quit, right? And but then actually my real first job was selling advertising space in magazines. Okay, so Mohammed asked, BMW X5M or G63, which are you taking and why?
That's way too easy. G63, an X5M, you'd sort of...
I mean, those are very different price points as well.
Yeah.
But I suppose, no, 1 second. Let's say for a relatively newish X5M, what, a 2022?
You can go for like an X5M competition,
Yeah.
which the latest shape is still like best part of 100,000.
100.
Yeah.
So then, but for 100 grand, the G63 that you'll get is an old shape.
2018, 2019. Yeah, you get the pre-facelift one, high mileage.
Or a very high
very high mileage
Yeah.
facelift.
So now, very high mileage facelift. Well, okay, so then would you rather go for a newer X5M competition versus a very high mileage facelift?
Very high mileage facelift G63. And the reason behind it is simple. You go for a brand new X5M, you drive it out, and you've lost £20,000 within the first week. High mileage G63 is a pretty safe buy, albeit the X5M is probably going to be a better drive. Guaranteed.
100% is going to be a better drive. Yeah.
But a G63 will turn more heads. And I think at that price point, it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Do you know what? I don't really care about heads turning, man.
Yeah.
I like the drive.
I'd go for the X5.
Really?
100%.
And you wouldn't mind losing 20 or 30 grand?
I'd rather than drive a G-Wagon, yes. I hate
Really?
a G-Wagon.
Okay.
I hate the G-Wagon.
Oh, wow.
So definitely the BMW. And I don't even like BMWs that much.
I think we're going to have to get another purchaser in just for G-Wagons. We're just going to need one. Oh, God. Ayman asked, once I saw you had a Ferrari advertised with a 6k deposit and circa £600 per month. Have you got anything similar in?
I know exactly what car that was.
That was the
Ferrari
California.
Here's a California, yeah.
To be honest with you, I've never seen such a response to a video.
Really?
We did a video said, you can buy a Ferrari for this cheap, and it went viral. It was insane the amount of inquiries we had on that. But can you still get? Of course you can. You can still get it. Yeah, you just need to find a cheaper Ferrari, something that's fairly modern that you can get a balloon on. So Californias are pretty much your perfect.
Well, we've got a California T in right now, right?
Yeah.
Black.
Yep.
So the T is a slightly newer variant, which is a bit more expensive, but those you're still looking fairly similar figures.
I mean, with that one, obviously a more expensive car, but it's £12,000 deposit and £969 per month.
Incredible, right?
That's
the thing,
crazy value
you're
for
buying, and it's not just a crappy F1 old Ferrari, which is going to need a new clutch after every other year, like your old 360s or 355 and so on. This is a fairly modern double clutch transmission Ferrari, which has modern infotainment. It sounds great. It still drives good. Like it's a modern Ferrari, and to get that for that sort of money is
very good
crazy.
value.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to get any more 360s and 355s in after your comment. Your crappy Ferrari.
No.
Sticky buttons.
Yeah, sticky buttons.
Oh yeah, 355s actually look really nice, but to drive they're terrible. Anyone says that they're not the best driving.
They're not very nice.
360s jerk around.
Yeah.
Just more than Andreas. No. Sorry, just had to say.
Oh my God.
Let's pick on Andreas Day.
Let's
Pick on Andreas Day.
He was looking at me at the time, and it just came to my head. That was quite quick, so come on.
I do love a manual.
You do like a manual.
Yeah.
The 360 manual was a lot better than the auto, right?
Yeah. Back
Yeah.
then, definitely the manual was the choice because of the single clutch, and it just was much better. But then obviously the double clutch came out, and it just blew the manuals away.
Yeah.
You know, but back then the 355 with a manual transmission, a gated manual, brilliant car. You know, but the F1 was just a bit clunky and a bit sort of,
I do love the F430 though. I
Do
think.
you?
Yeah.
F430, you can still get manual in F430 as well.
Yeah, but not very many, right?
No.
They were few and far between.
Last time we had here, they're holding the value so
Have
well
they?
now.
Yeah,
I
of course they will, man.
I spoke to the owner today and I said, "Do you want to sell your 430?" He goes, "No." I said, "Please let me sell it again. I really want that back in the showroom."
Yeah.
The last ever manual that they made
Ferrari, yep.
on a
V8.
V8.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
in general, the last ever manual Ferrari they made.
Oh, that's it.
They
Oh,
did.
shit, that's a good point. Yeah.
They did, however, build.
But 599s, they had a very few 599s that came out.
You
in
could get a
manual
manual
as well,
599 as well, but the 430 was a newer car than the
Was it?
599s. Yeah, but I remember reading, and it could have just been outside of the Ferrari network. Someone took an F12 and replaced it, or a 458, sorry, a 458 and replaced it with a manual gearbox.
What?
But it must have just been outside the Ferrari network. Someone just
course
customized it
they
and did
did.
that.
That's crazy. Mo, I've just sold my business and I'm looking to get into something V12 and put it away in the garage. Do I go 812 or SVJ?
Two very different price points once again.
Very different.
I mean, and it depends.
I mean, 812 is how much? So
ranging from 210,000 all the way up to 350,000, depending if you go for a coupe or a GTS.
GTS. So 350 for, but then they are kind of comparable on the basis that 812 GTS versus an SVJ coupe. I mean, there's a little bit of difference there.
Still 100 grand.
Yeah.
So we've
So
currently
350 for an 812 GTS.
That's a bit higher. They're about 320 now.
320.
Yeah.
So we've currently got the best value SVJ on the market. It's a coupe with comfort seats and it's up for 405,000.
Yep.
That is like, if you look at the SVJ market, that's the one to go for. And
Yeah.
I say this like knowing that I pretend I'm an SVJ buyer sometimes. I'm sad like that. It's my favorite car. I would look on the market and think that is the car that I would go for.
It is the. I still prefer that over a Rev. I know we've said it a few times, but
100%.
I think I'd go over that over a Rev
100%.
any day of the week.
Yeah. It's no, we're going to go into the same
Yeah, go on.
same discussion again. But in response to this guy's question, it can't just be buying it and sticking it away in a garage, because if you're doing it solely for that, there's so many better things to go and spend £300,000 or £400,000 on. If you're saying you're going to buy a car, leave it in a garage, just look at it and never touch it again, don't even consider those two cars.
Yep.
If you're buying something and you want to drive it a bit and you want to use it, you're occasionally going to do the odd road trip in there, then between those two cars, it's a great option. So I would say SVJs are great for looks and for future value appreciation. Probably not as good a driver, definitely not as good a driver as an 812. The 812 is double clutch. It's much easier to drive. It's more easier to live with. It's more of a GT car, more luggage space, more roomy.
SVJ is double clutch as well, right?
No,
Single
SVJ
clutch.
single.
Single.
Yeah, single clutch with a
Okay.
modern software.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Upgraded from the
they.
SV.
Okay, yeah, fine.
The Revuelta is the first V12 that they've done with a double clutch.
Okay, fine.
But if you're asking me, it has to be more of a heart-led decision, and I'd go for the SVJ because I just love the way it looks, love the way it sounds.
I mean, in terms of stats, there's 35 812s on the market and 14 SVJs. The cheapest SVJ on the market is £350,000. With
I've seen that with a lot of miles.
30,000
That's the
miles.
X rental car.
Yeah.
Oh god.
God knows how many clutches that's gone through, how many engines or gearboxes that's gone through. So that is,
Yeah, without.
Stay away
I mean,
from
if it's
that
a
one.
rental, can you really trust that it's 30,000 miles or not? I don't know.
Very true.
Anyway, it is one of those, isn't it? It's like with 30,000 miles, that car's value is depreciated. But I'm sure there'll be another rental company that's probably up for buying something like that, right?
Yeah.
But the cheapest 812 Superfast is 195,000 with 12,600 miles. 195 grand is so much value for that car, right?
Yeah.
yeah. The latest V12 prior to the V12 Cylindri, one of the latest V12s with that performance and that look, like you would not think 200 grand can buy you that.
By the way, I saw a V12 Cylindri come up in a Dubai dealership in silver, fully silver, like no contrasting colors. It looks like some sort of Japanese Hyundai kind of thing. If you were standing back, you would mistake it for a Hyundai. You would not turn your head. You wouldn't even turn your eyes to look at the car.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the hell is that car all about? No, when I've seen it in red with contrast in black or whatever, it looks quite cool. But
I even contrast at any colour, no matter what you do to it, I just do not like the V12 cylindry. I don't like the way they look. They've tried to go for this dated Daytona styling, which I don't personally think works. But once again, it's subjective.
You probably know people that are looking to flip, but I know so many people that were asked, hey, how do you fancy a V12 cylinder? And I remember when the 812 came out, and I was
So
begging
hard.
to get an allocation, couldn't get it.
Yeah.
And here they're begging people to take an allocation.
Yeah.
Kind of enticing
Really
them.
messed up on the design there. It's not a beautiful car. It's not a car someone would get excited over.
Mr. Mac 8. Do most people buy their supercars outright or do they finance?
I would say depends on the interest rates at the time. There's a lot of external factors that have to come into consideration. So if we're talking currently right now, the finance rates have sort of stabilized a bit. So yeah, we're finding a lot more people are coming in with finance. I would say 70 to 80% are finance and the rest is bought outright.
I mean, actually, for the UK market as a whole, it's circa 92% of cars are financed. It's crazy, eh?
I mean, it's easy to believe when you look at it and you look at when the interest rates are low enough, you can make your money work for you so much more than the interest you're paying on a car. So why stick a lump sum of the best part of £500,000 in a car when you can make it work for you and do so much more?
It's true. Hamid asked, a new G63 versus Urus S, what's going to lose less money?
The Urus S. So only reason I say that is because the Urus S has already lost a lot of money.
Urus S
The
has
Urus
already
S,
lost it.
Yeah, if you can pick one of those up for about £200,000. The facelift G63s are still on the open market going for overs. So we were talking about the latest facelift, the one that's just come out, the 2025 model year. Those are still going for overs.
The G63, has the EQG come out yet?
Yeah, we've got John Terry's EQG in for a wrap at the moment. He was one of the first ones in the country.
Amazing. And what do you think of it? Have you driven it or anything like that?
No, not at the moment. Haven't had the chance to. Got sent straight to wrapping, but
What's your view?
I think it's a bit of a gimmick. I think the whole point of having a G-Wagon is that it's meant to feel like a tank. It's meant to roar. It's meant to give you that thrill that only a combustion engine can give you.
Of going to the petrol station every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. It's part of having a G-Wagon. It makes you feel like, yeah, this is what a G-Wagon
You spend more time
like.
in the bloody petrol station than you do on the road.
Yeah, but with an EQG, I'm pretty sure you spend more time stuck on your driveway charging your car than you would on the road.
What's your views on it?
I mean, G63s I don't like. Electric G-Wagons, that is horrible. Horrible idea.
You reckon?
Terrible car.
I mean, the whole point...
there is one cool thing about it.
Yeah.
Is that thing that spins on its own
360s.
axis. That's really cool.
Just
So-
in case you want to get a machine gun out and do some sort of stunt
Yeah,
or something.
I don't know. That's a cool feature. And when the GLS came out, it started bouncing. It was.
Do you know what? I know what it's for. They heard about all the crime in the UK, and they're just like, if somebody tries to come
Do it on
at
your
you,
watch,
you just
you just spin around.
Write the car
There you
off
go.
and write about 4 other cars.
Knock
off, but at
all
least
the
no
guys
one-
away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
At
Love
least
that.
no one will steal your watch.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I like about that car.
yeah.
Us having the turntable, just put the G-Wagon and it just
Yeah.
spins itself.
But if
pretty
you watch
nice.
the videos of it doing
Nice
it,
of
you
them.
can see rubber being burnt on the floor. It's essentially the same thing as doing a donut because the
Yeah.
rubbers are just, their tyres are literally dragging all the way around.
Because just the front right and the back
Yeah, they
left,
spin
isn't it?
in
And they
opposite
spin
directions.
together and then it spins the car that way. So yeah.
So supposedly the main reason for it is when you're off-roading and you find yourself in a sort
In
of
a
tricky
ditch.
location, rather than having to do a 3-4 point turn, you can just maneuver
love
on the
that.
spot.
Okay.
So it's not just about doing a full 360 just for the sake of it and kicking up a lot of mess. It's actually to be
Just
able
to
to
get you out of
to
sticky
turn on the spot.
situations.
Yeah,
Yeah. And to get you away from baddies.
and baddies.
Yeah, okay. Baddies mean something else.
I don't know what you mean.
Do the baddies, but
You want the baddies. Dan, is there any car in the pipeline that anyone is actually excited about anymore? Or are all cars really just disappointing at the moment?
There's not much coming out this year that's exciting. Like, I mean,
It's like all the movies during COVID. Like, there's no movies coming out during COVID. It feels like that at the moment. Where the hell are the cars?
I'm super excited about a couple.
Go on.
The W1 for one.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be incredible.
that's been announced already. Do you mean cars have been in?
Yeah, they're not on the road yet.
Oh, they're on the road yet.
Due
Okay.
to come. Like,
Right,
you sort of
yeah.
get excited about that. And the Mercedes Pure Speed.
Yeah, but see, those are like cool cars. They're like crazy money, all of that kind of stuff, right? But what can the normal supercar owner be excited about? I think that's what the point that he's trying to make, because, you know, like Porsche have got the Cayman EV coming out. That sounds really exciting. I can't wait for that one. Ferrari's first ever fully electric supercar. Can we get a picture of that up? I mean,
Okay,
this
I understand
is
why they're doing it.
Wow.
I'm laying awake at night because I'm so excited about this, right?
I mean, just imagine the depreciation on that.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
but pure sangues have plummeted. Imagine an electric Ferrari. How fast
I mean,
that
Porsche's
will drop.
renowned as being one of the most stable cars, and the Taycans absolutely crashed.
Taycans have plummeted.
Yeah, that looks like a cross between a Subaru, a Mazda.
I mean, that to me, yeah, it looks like a Mazda. It
with
really
Subaru
does, right?
WRX back.
Oh, wow.
It's
like a people carrier.
And do you know what it's going to be? It's definitely going to be one of these situations where they start saying, okay, to all their customers, all right, do you want, just buy this and we'll give you like
100%.
the next.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Ferrari got away
100%.
with that for ages.
Yeah,
They've
but-
managed to convince. I still can't get over when they released the V8, the V8 Lusos. And people who had V12 Lusos, they told them, said, "Oh, buy this Luso, and we'll get you an 812 Competizione." And it's like, how are you doing this? This is criminal. It makes no sense. Why did you release this car?
But I've been told that they've actually ramped down production for the UK for Ferraris this year.
I'm not
the amount of
surprised.
unsold cars that are here
I'm not surprised.
in the network.
I mean, there's definitely going to be a shift from UK to China, for sure. Like, that is their biggest market now. Can you believe that?
Wow.
So, at one point, I mean, US has always been the number one for many years, and we were number two. And suddenly, China, out of nowhere, has become number one, and US are number two. And we're probably not even number three anymore. We're probably further down the pecking order.
UAE will be up there. And
Oh, of course, actually, yeah. Didn't even think about that. If you just combine the whole of the Middle Eastern region, definitely has to be number three.
Yeah.
Ollie Hindle, best car options for a 20 grand deposit and £1,500 per month. Should I go for a GT3, 488, F8, Turbo S, Huracan Evo, or 720S?
So, £20,000 deposit, and how much per
It's
month?
about £1,500 a month.
20,000 deposit, 1,500 a month. The one car that I can't get out of my head when I say those numbers is a 720S. I think that is probably one of the best supercars you can buy that fits dead within that budget and gives you best value for money. It's hypercar performance for such small money. And I'd choose that over a Turbo S or a Huracan or any other car in that range any day of the week.
I'm finding Money Share Goal asks, what's the most common occupation for supercar buyers at GVE?
OnlyFans.
It's definitely been...
Yeah, it's coming up
OF
there.
has definitely been a common occupation for some of
We're just going through
the
all the
most
colours,
recent
aren't we?
purchases, right? But we have all sorts, right?
Property developers is definitely something that's up there.
Is it?
So even if someone's made the money through something else and they've had a career that they've been very successful in, eventually when they come to us, it's always through property. That's where they made most
They
of
put
the
their
money
money
from.
into property.
Yeah, I've always found that the majority of our buyers are on property.
Wow. And business owners, I
Yeah.
suppose,
Business owners as well.
up
But,
there.
Yeah. It's funny. I'd say 80% of people, they're always talking about property.
It was funny because before I even got into this business, I always thought that it was going to be the investment bankers that were waiting for their bonus and they're going to come and be our biggest customers, right? But actually, it's funny enough, it's the more. So there you have it, guys. We hope you liked the podcast. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, see you later.